Hello everybody and welcome to the UK&I Radical Race Series here for 2022. It's round 7 of the first season in this year at Watkins, Glen. We've staying in the North American part of the world here this afternoon, or this evening should I say, for the 7th round of this championship. And yeah, it's starting to hot up. We've just crossed over the halfway mark and it's starting to get a bit serious in this championship now. Before we go any further, we'll just talk about the championship standings a little bit as well before we get into qualifying and indeed the race in a couple of moments' time. And you probably guessed it at this point, it's Simon Edwards still leading the championship, but 80 points of a lead now ahead of Paul LeMay, then Graham Brown, Dave Kirkman and Mike Booston. It's all very close for second place, but for first, Simon Edwards absolutely running away with it at the moment, and judging by the practice times, he doesn't show to be any signs of slowing down in the near future. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens throughout this race here tonight. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be alongside Steve Proudly for the show once again here tonight. And yeah, Watkins Glen, nice flowing circuit for these radicals once again, like Mosport. I suspect this track is going to suit these higher downforce cars just a little bit more than maybe some of those a little bit later on, and it's going to be a similar story at Suzuka next week as well. A couple of flowing circuits in this midpoint of the season, but yeah, we're over halfway now and things are starting to hot up, but there's absolutely no change as to who's fastest in this championship right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Ewan. Great to be back, and as you say, fantastic circuit is Watkins Glen, really fast flowing, and it's all about getting those lines right through the corners, just because they do very, very much flow, and mistakes will be punished here with slipstreams to be picked up, outbraking manoeuvres into the heavier braking zones. It's going to be a good one this evening, I think. But yeah, you're quite right. I mean, Simon Edwards is the man of the moment. Is anyone going to be able to stop him? Will Paul Crabb have a good race? Will he match that qualifying pace with race pace and not get involved in incidents? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one to watch, and I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, really, because a lot can happen even in these relatively short races. But yeah, let's get into qualifying and see what these guys are up to. Hopefully going quickly. That's the idea. Anyway, at the moment, 3 laps as ever for them to be getting on with, and nobody's actually started their flying lap. They're all on out laps at the moment, and we'll be into the flying laps very shortly. But yeah, as I mentioned, 3 flying laps for everybody to try and go as fast as possible, really, and get that pole position, of course. About 32 drivers on the grid here tonight as well. Very healthy grid here once again. But yeah, we can pretty much guess who's going to be up towards the front at this stage. Paul LeMay will probably be there. Here he is. But it's all about Simon Edwards at the moment, the reigning champion from the final season in 2021. Looking to take the first season here of 2022 and become only the second driver to win 2 titles in this series, but also 2 titles consecutively. Paul Crabb took out the first 2 seasons out of the 5 we've had so far. This being the 6th, of course. And yeah, Simon Edwards looking to do that as well, starting off in a good way, but not expecting too quick times or very quick times in the opening part of this session. We've seen week after week here that lap after lap these radicals get faster, and then the very final, 3rd and final lap is where you importantly need to be fastest and where you really need to be on it, and that's what cost Simon Edwards pole position 1 week ago.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's all about building up to it, really. It's got to be precise, you've got to be clean, and you've got to try and build up to that fast lap and that ultimate pace. And as it was shown, like I say, last week, it was just down to those dying seconds. I mean, it is only 10 minutes to get those laps in. It is a high pressure situation, to be fair. You know, it's you only need to get to run off the track a little bit wide somewhere to get the lap validated, and it is high pressure and it's tough, and I think a lot of the guys will probably go out there at 9/10 on the first flying lap just to get the anchor lapping, and then maybe push on towards getting that absolute optimum pace when once things start to bed in and the tyres get up to temp, the brakes get up to temp, everything like that. Because it's all about bringing the car into that optimum zone, and like I say, with 10 minutes you don't have long to get it right. Your first lap probably is never going to be your quickest anyway, because not everything is up to temperature, not everything is in. Yourself, you've come out of the pitch, you've done one out lap to go straight into a flying lap. It's a special driver that can pull out their fastest lap straight out of the bag like that. So it all does build up to it, and we will see. I think that pole position potentially will get grabbed in the last 2 or 3 minutes of qualifying.
Probably get grasped right at the end. We've even got Dan Webster out there at the moment, quite late on in the cycle here, and John Mccuttinson, who's just seen go to the top there, is quite late on as well, because you can see some of the drivers coming up towards the final part of the lap now, like Dave Dowson and Paul Crabb, who was pretty quick first time around as well. But we'll see those times go in a little bit later. Phil Jocelyn still not out there at all at the minute, 5 minutes to go for him, so he does in theory have time for at least one lap. Probably two, possibly two, if he could manage it. But that's probably pole position not going to be going to him. He might well be starting from last, or indeed the pit lane here today. We'll see. But over the line once again for everybody, it's Paul Crabb who's going to retake his spot at the top, and Simon Edwards only fourth, a little bit further down from where we're expecting to see him and where we do normally see him. But for the moment, it's only fourth. John Mccuttinson just behind him in fifth. Mccuttinson has now missed half of the races so far in this season. There's only 2 drop weeks as well, so he's going to have to take a 0 whatever happens in this series here this year, despite the fact that he's won, I think he's won all 3 races that he's been taking part in. He has indeed, but unfortunately not quite taking part in enough to collect enough points really to be challenging Simon Edwards. And here he is, coming through the final few corners. There's no doubts about his pace, but just not quite turning up quite as often as he needs to if he wants a championship challenge this season.
Yeah, it's all about consistency, isn't it, in these championships, in the single make like this, when the competition is so hot. You can't afford to drop points to your competitors. You've got to really, bring it every single week. You've really got to put everything out there and score points consistently. I mean, to beat Simon Edwards, it seems that it's going to take some doing. You've got to be on the top step of the podium. Most of the time, if you're in a championship and you can finish on the podium week in, week out, you stand a good chance of being somewhere towards the end of the season and battling for that championship win. But it's you've got to bring it every week, and it's a tall order, and this is a tough group to be into.
Let's see then, as the final times come over for some of the front runners like Paul Crabb, who's just gone to the front right now. Simon Edwards jumping from 5th to 2nd. It's not going to be enough for pole position on this occasion for the championship leader, but this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Paul LeMay, who had a good qualifying last time out and is having a relatively good season really, in 2nd place at the moment, best of the rest you might say, as things stand. Where can he get to in the final couple of corners? John Mccuttinson is not too far behind him either at the moment, trying to go that little bit quicker and get up into that pole position currently held by Paul Crabb. Paul LeMay though, 6th position for him, half a second away, so the guys at the front going very quickly indeed, and can't really be caught by most, by the looks of things. Crabb, Edwards and Mccuttinson really pulling away from the rest of the field. Graham Brown sort of there as well, but let's see. For Mccuttinson, over the line he goes. Clark goes up to 2nd, but it's going to be it is an improvement. A 38.0 and 2 tenths quicker than everybody else there. 2.5 tenths for John Mccuttinson. A fantastic performance here in qualifying to take this one by a quarter of a second. Surely nobody's going to catch him now. Richard Brown can't do it. Dan Webster, possibly the last candidate to get anywhere near as Martina Ward also comes over the line. Probably be into the top 6, you'd imagine, after this lap, if all has gone well. Dan Webster likewise, looking at the gap, it looks like he made a mistake on that final lap. And what about Dan Webster? It is indeed 6th position for him, and so he moves up that little bit. Couple of drivers still to go here. Connor Hope being one of them. Darrell Taylor, David Rollison is also one of them. Ray Peasley, the final of them to come across the line as well. Here a little bit later on. Taylor over the line right now, 23rd here for him. But the main candidates have come over the line. Just a minute left in qualifying, and John Mccuttinson pulling it out the bag here once again. He's won 3 races out the 3 he's attended so far, and he's well on course to another one here, because a quarter of a second is a small margin around a circuit like this in a field like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter how big the margin is, does it? Does the big or small? It's pole is pole, and the position ahead is the position ahead. And that's what we're all aiming for as racing drivers. And every position gained makes your race that little bit easier. But that's just about all the drivers over the line, I think. There, Ewan. So that was that 10 minutes goes so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and with the 3 laps kind of limit on it, it does put the pressure on. Thankfully, at Watkins Glen, the circuit's a little bit longer, so we have a little bit more time or a little bit less time at the end, with nobody really taking any lap times, unlike Mosport, where there was a fair bit of time at the end, because there's not much, because you don't need to be out there after you've done your 3 laps. You can come straight back in, and that's what most people have done, of course. But yeah, that's qualifying over. We're going to be getting the race underway here soon. It's John Mccuttinson who's going to be on the front row alongside Paul Crabb, then Paul Clark alongside Simon Edwards, Graham Brown and Dan Webster on the third row together. Mike Booson in second place man in the championship, Paul LeMay in 8th. Then it's Martina Ward getting inside the top 10 with Colin Wynne here 1 second back. Then we've got Martin Booker and Sergio Cruz on the 6th row here together this time. And in 13th position, it's going to be James Child alongside Jamie Bird, followed by Richard Brown and Graham Brown lining up together. Christopher Rowe and Michael LeMay a little bit further down. Phil Glover and Dave Kirkman round out the top 20. Mark Langford and Dave Dowson are going to share row 11 ahead of David Rollison and Darryl Taylor in 23rd and 24th position. Scrolling even further back now, still 9 cars to go through here. Christopher Kane is going to be next ahead of Chris Bassett, Tim Adcock, Oliver Ettridge, Ray Peasley and Guy Robertson round out the top 30. Then it's Paul Wilkins, Connor Hope and Phil Jocelyn, who didn't qualify there, in the final 33rd position in this race at Watkins Glen. A lot of cars out here at the moment. It's going to be very busy down into turn 1. Thankfully there's tarmac everywhere on the outside line, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for these guys, but it's still going to be a high pressure start for everybody, because you're going to want to make up the positions, of course. Best time to do it, and there's going to be quite a lot of slipstream as well heading down to the bus stop, or the inner loop as they call it, rightly or wrongly, here in America. Corner names once here, very American and very wrong, I would say, but I'm sure we'll get into
controversial.
Well, yeah, it's giving me Road Atlanta feelings, but either way, let's get into that a little bit later, because the lights are coming on now here at Watkins Glen. The UK&I Radical Race Series is getting underway right now, and John Mccuttinson flies away from the front row and will take the racing line into turn 1. Very comfortable with that first position. Paul Crabb can't do anything about that. Simon Edwards is going to tuck in as well. It's going to be Clark in 4th. Great stop for him. Simon Edwards looking pretty good right now out of that first turn, and looking to maybe make an impression up towards the bus stop here. Trying to get through on Paul Crabb. A bit of slipstream though, and John Mccuttinson might even be in a bit of trouble, and he knows it. Pulling to the right hand side of the road already to try and defend, but they all fall into line. The front 3 previous champions, all of them of this season, let's not forget, running away with this race already as the battle from 4th on back continue on.
Yeah, absolutely great start from the guys there, and all getting away pretty well. And those front few were just sort of putting a little bit of a gap on there, but qualifying time sort of indicated we may have a bit closer race this week from the whole field. It wasn't such a big jump from the front 4 or 5 guys back. It was a steady drop, but it's looking like we could have some really close racing side by side at the moment. We've got Bird and Ward there backing it out for P13. So battles all the way down the field on this opening lap.
Yeah, there absolutely are. And it's not really up down the inside, diving down the inside for Jamie Bird, and he's going to be into 13th position. And even those guys behind just battling side by side, it's 2 by 2. They're pretty much everywhere at the moment, apart from up towards the front, of course. But the slipstream is once again going to play a bit of a role in this one. The front of the race staying a little bit closer than it did in Mosport for the first couple of laps here, because the field really did stretch out very early on due to issues at the front for some of the front running cars. So a half spin for Paul LeMay right in front of the entire field, so it did spread them out quite a lot We haven't had that this time, and so everybody's very close. Michael LeMay is a little bit further back here, battling with Martina Ward, who's ninth in qualifying, but dropped already to 15th now as LeMay gets through. It's another position lost for Ward. Dave Kirkman's going, oh no! It's a big accident up towards the narrowest part of the circuit, and the purple car gets tossed around, and that is going to be a big pile for everybody on behind. Oh, and it is. Look at the amount of radicals involved in that one, I'm afraid. Dear, oh dear. The track will be almost entirely blocked as well. Have a look at this one more time. Just a bit of an unlucky moment for Martina Ward there. Gets hit once. Going to get hit again here. Oh dear, and it's messy for everybody. Cars spinning and cartwheeling out of control. A big mess. Narrowest point on the circuit. This does sometimes happen at Watkins, Glen. It's a real shame to see so many drivers caught up in this one.
Yeah, absolutely nowhere to go, and totally unavoidable there, and it was just really sad to see, but very difficult situation, and a few guys having to escape back to pits there, which is not a good sight to see. But obviously, like I said, just couldn't avoid that. There was nowhere to go. Absolutely full throttle coming through the corner, absolutely blind, and yeah, just nowhere to go.
Absolutely, shame for everybody involved there. And I'll tell you how many were involved in the end, because it was always difficult to count. I believe at least Darryl Taylor and Martina Ward have had to come to the pit lane straight away. I think they might both be out of the race here in this one, because they've already come back to pit lane. We're seeing about every other, surely more cars made contact there. So surely they still will be in the pit lane here, but it doesn't look like it just for the moment. Maybe some people getting away with one or two incidents there, but let's not forget it's still worth running in this race here. Top 30 get points, and there's 33 on the grid right now. Christopher Kane also came into the pit lane there because of those issues. As we look up towards the front, Paul Crabb is letting John Mccuttinson go here. There's no doubt about that. 1 second lead almost for the Season 2 champion of 2021. Getting away and showing that pace in qualifying was not a fluke by any stretch of the imagination.
No, absolutely, and Simon Edwards, interestingly, he's up from that 4th position start up into 3rd place, and he's keeping Paul Crabb very honest, and he's going to start applying some pressure very soon, which I think will help Mccuttinson to extend that gap even further, because we've seen how hard Paul Crabb can battle, and I don't think he'll make it easy for Edwards.
No, he probably won't here in this race. Crabb trying to gain points on Simon Edwards, really. Edwards hasn't finished outside the top 2 yet this season, let's not forget. Winning half of the race, he's finishing second in the other half to Mccuttinson. So it's looking like that record may well continue here if indeed Paul Crabb can't hold him off. A bit of weaving there from Mccuttinson. You can see that's how it just illustrates how important the slipstream is, even at a circuit like Watkins Glen, which is very flowing. These radicals pick up slipstream quite well, and so you do need to break it. Even at 1.2, 1.3 second margin, Mccuttinson is not content there, weaving around on the front straight trying to break slipstream even at that margin.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like you say, it's every second that or every tenth of a second that the driver behind can gain is just allowing them to apply that bit more pressure on you. So Crabb will be very much keen to try and break that toe, but he's not been very successful at the moment. And if anything, Edwards is looking ever closer. Really, I think he's definitely closing that gap in, and we can see now he's there just under 3/10 now. It's definitely well within the slipstream, and it's well within the mirrors of Paul Crabb. Will just be seeing Edwards there, will be feeling large, and the pressure will start to be applied to Crabb. Crabb's had a better start to this race than he's had in the past couple of rounds. He's suffered some very poor starts, so he managed to get off the line very quickly tonight and maintain that P2. So he's already ahead of where he has been in the last few weeks. So he's just got to remain consistent. He's got to absorb this pressure now. But Edwards is really going to start applying the pressure, because he'll be very conscious that Mccuttinson is extending that lead and getting away. And the question will be, how long will it take Edwards to get past Crabb, if he can at all? And once he does get past, if he does get past at all, has he got the pace to close down on the leader?
He's got to do it sooner rather than later. We're already 4 laps into this one now, so a quarter of the way through already in this one. So we just need to get a move on here. I just see last lap around there, Mccuttinson had a problem because he dropped down the order from maybe just inside the top 10, I think he was, and now he's dropped all the way out of there. So might be able to see what happened to him, but he's certainly dropped a long way down here in the last few moments. You see this battle, and here may be the answer. Well, he's spun around at what is turn 7. That looks like anyway. The toe of the boot, turn 7 for number 7. It's not proved to be particularly useful or particularly helpful for Boozin there, I'm afraid. And he had a bit of a problem getting turned around there. It doesn't look like he could actually spin up the rears to get turned around on the grass there, which was a bit of a problem. But I think he's back going again now, and all the way down in 28th position. You have to wait for the entire field to go around by the looks of things, and even then had trouble because he's 30 seconds off the next car. So a bit of a disaster for him, especially considering he's 5th place in the championship. That's where he should be in these races, ideally, in and around the top 5, but he's not anymore, as we see Darrell Taylor having problems over the bumps of the bus stop into the wall, not for the first time today, I'm afraid, for the 222.
No, he did well to get that stop though there, because that looked like it was going to be a high impact into the wall, but he managed to get the speed scrubbed on, even though he had those tyres locked up, braking very, very hard there. So well done to him for getting it stopped, and hopefully he'll be able to carry on.
Let's hope so. On the inside, well, Paul LeMay has done that every lap so far, or quite a lot of the laps. Just showing the nose to James Sharp, but not quite going for any moves, as we see. Speaking of moves, we might see one here from Simon Edwards, even though it is difficult and tricky into the bus stop. He might well go for it, or Brad might just be pulling over here and allowing him to have this one. Looked like he lifted out of that one, so he clearly wants to work together to try and catch the leader, but I don't know what they can really do about this, even with slipstreaming past each other like that. I'm not really sure they can catch Mccuttinson in this race. Let's wait and see, but it's going to be a tall order.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at Christopher Rowe. I think he's had an issue somewhere along the way. It's showing him as having an accident, so let's just see where that was and what happened to him. He's out there all on his own at the minute, so not quite sure. Yeah, he just dropped it there, and a little bit too much power. Maybe had a little bit of previous damage, I think.
Yeah, previous damage, I think the answer there. Because I'm pretty sure he was involved with Darrell Taylor when they were both trying to avoid Martina Ward there. And I think they both went into the barriers. In the end, Rowe tried to continue, and has done for a little while, but he's not really been able to keep it on the road there, I'm afraid, as we see Paul Crabb also being demoted by Dan Webster. This is how Simon Edwards got through, down the inside into the bus stop. Pretty routine stuff, this one. And it was pretty routine for Webster to get through as well. For whatever reason, Paul Crabb just giving up 2 places on this lap here. For some reason, around the outside through the toe of the boot. Crabb, well, he put up a little bit of a fight, but not really able to do a lot, which is surprising, really.
No, so that's freed up obviously Edwards. So now we'll just start to see if he's got some lap time and what he can do with it.
Yeah, let's see. Another replay coming up here for Mccuttinson. Not been his day so far by the looks of things. He's 30 seconds off the next car, and he's gone straight on there. He's done the old thing that you're supposed to do in NASCAR, which is come to a dead stop and then carry on if you miss the bus stop there. I'm not sure how that translates to our racing, but either way, he's tried it. As we go back to Dave Kirkman trying to hold off Graham Brown. Graham Brown having a very good week last week, I believe. Gaining 4 places with his performance into 3rd place in this championship, but 13th for him so far in this one, gaining 3 positions off the start. So not a great qualifying for him, down in P16, and this is why Simon Edwards is leading by so much. He's challenged every week, but it's often by different drivers, which is a problem. He is the ever consistent driver up towards the front, and he's showing that once more with 2nd place, and Graham Brown unfortunately not stringing 2 weeks together, as here are the leaders once more, continuing to lose time. Oh no! Dan Webster around for 3rd position in front of the field. He will have got damage there. Let's see if he can turn it back around, but he might have to wait for the entire field. Oh dear, can he get this turned around? He can, and he's going to be down in 13th, 14th position. It's 13th in the end. Bassett goes through as well, but such a simple mistake to make. The grass on the outside there, you're trying to get the power down, off camber, uphill, not a nice corner. Probably the only not nice corner on this circuit, I would say. And it's caught out Dan Webster here. a little bit of understeer in the wake of the car in front and pushed out into the grass on the outside line, and that was it really. Didn't seem to be able to do a lot about it once that car was going around.
Yeah, it's a real shame because he looked like he was, keeping pace certainly with Edwards. If anything, he was actually closing and potentially putting Edwards under a little bit of pressure. So that's a real shame to see him drop it like that. Just goes to show how hard these guys are pushing to stay with each other and put on the race that they are this evening.
Paul Clark trying to get through on Richard Brown. This is I think no, it is Graham Brown. It's two Graham Browns, of course. I've mixed them up. So the one down in 13th position, Graham with the E, we'll call him. It's not 5th place in the championship. That's this Graham, who's in 4th place in this race. Don't tell me this is not confusing, because it is. As Paul Clark continues to try and make a move here, the gap's almost 2 seconds now to those in front, but they are extending it to the likes of Paul LeMay behind to a good 4 seconds. We'll just be able to see those battling cars in the background. James Childer's got overtaken by Booker as well, as we see the other Graham Brown going very wide through turn 9, that is there, but able to continue on in 12th position. Gap's just extending out that little bit, and you do expect to see this at Watkins Glen really. The field stayed close for the opening minutes with the slipstream, but it's extending out again now, as you'd expect, as the corners seem to come thicker and faster, and the battles getting a little bit more spread out, and there's some wounded cars going around at the moment, it has to be said as well.
I was just going to say, you would just look at that. I mean, Jamie Bird was really hanging the car out there around those couple of corners, and you can see how hard it is for him to hold on to that thing, and the damage to the rear spoiler there is not really doing an awful lot for him, I don't think, not at those angles. But he's doing a sterling job in P19, hanging on to Adcock and Beasley ahead of him, albeit just about as they're battling away in front of him. He's got a grandstand seat here, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens as they go into the first part of the chicane.
Oh, absolutely side by side. Normally someone yields here, but nobody deciding to this time. All positions changing. Jamie Bird trying to get involved, but in the end, Adcock comes out on top. Peasley is going to have to come again at this point for 16th. Both of these, by the way, Tim Adcock and Ray Peasley have done a fantastic job getting through the field. 11 and 12 positions gained respectively. Not quite the most in the race. That goes to Chris Bassett at the moment with 13. But both of these guys have done a very good job. Jamie Bird trying to get involved, but can't really, and you can imagine that damaged car is affecting him. This is why the leaderboard was going a little bit haywire, because Phil Glover was dropping down the order. Another one caught out by the bumps at the bus stop, which is becoming a common theme, it has to be said. Seen that twice already now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get a little bit of airborne, lose contact with the tarmac, and you lose all steering input, it has to be said. And it's caught probably 3 or 4 of them out this evening, as we've seen so far. So it's definitely that is the hot spot for accidents this evening. We seem to find one spot on all the tracks even every week causing problems, and that seems to be it for Watkins Glen tonight.
We can see a couple of incidents at the final corner with the side-by-side battling cars at Mosport. It's not a corner that's particularly tricky on your own, but the cars trying to get themselves down the inside there. It can become tricky, and Jamie Bird's car looks pretty tricky to handle at the moment. Looking at that rear wing, not a lot of downforce coming off of that right now as Peasley goes back through again. Rollison is going to fancy his chances here as well with a big head of steam and a lot of slipstream as well, looking outside, inside, at every which way, but it's going to be a little bit late for a move at the bus stop here, and I think he knows that, backing off into here. So Peasley's been halted ever so slightly. He might be halted again here because he's gone wide, and Jamie Bird is not letting him go whatsoever, as we see Sergio Dela Cruz involved. 19th position for him. He qualified a lot better than that. He was up in 12th. He's dropped down to 19th. We didn't quite see what happened to him, but he's fighting his way through the field quite well here.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jamie Bird through the bus stop chicane there, he had a beautiful line through there, and he gained so much time on Beasley ahead. Even with that damaged car, he was absolutely flying through there, really smooth, and just closed the gap right down. He is struggling in the higher speed corners. The back end is stepping out, and he's struggling with understeer, oversteer. You see a car facing the wrong way there just ahead. But yeah, he's doing a sterling job to keep pace at the moment. And he is moving forward. He's gaining positions, but he's having to work very hard this evening, as we are now on lap 11 of 16.
it was Dave Dowson quite possibly who spun around. I might be wrong. But it could well have been. Oh no, I think it was Phil Glover again, maybe, unless that was the last. Oh, I was right the first time. It was Dave Dowson, and he did make contact with the barriers. And an awkward place to try and get going again as well, as we see that Paul Crabb has made a mistake somewhere here because he's dropping down at an alarming rate all of a sudden, and I think the bus stop has claimed another victim by the looks of things. Let's see. Oh, yep. He's on the grass on the way in for a start, and then he bumps, and then he makes fairly hefty contact with the barriers. How much does that cost him? Well, he's into 7th position. Colin Wynn is all over him right now. Michael LeMay is not too far behind either. There they all are, and that's a damaged nose on that Radical. No doubt, no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really gutted for Crabbe. He was having one of his better races. He's shown week in, week out that he's got the lap times, he's got the pace. He just seemed to be getting caught up in incidents, and this evening he's put a little bit of pressure on himself. He's had a couple of incidents, and it's just unravelled a little bit for him. Still in P7, that's a good strong position. It's not where he should be. He should be obviously up there hunting that podium position, but 7th place at the moment. Just needs to recompose himself and assess any damage that he's got and start to drive around any problems that he's got and see if he can keep Wynn behind him and maintain that 7th place, maybe even close down with Brown ahead if he can, but hasn't got a long time to go now, as they've just completed their 12th lap and the 12 of 16, so not long to go.
Paul Crabb is looking to take this one home, I think, by the looks of things. In trouble. He lost 4th position in the championship after his performance at Mosport, dropping to 8th now for the 2-time champion. It's been great for him recently, and he might well lose some more positions, I'm afraid. We go back to Graham Brown, Graham with an E, with the wheels on the grass, and that is phenomenal. Oh, it nearly was. Ah, dearie me. Gets into contact with somebody who definitely wasn't expecting that to happen. It was nearly an absolutely glorious save, but unfortunately just went wrong at the very wrong moment. Snapped back the other way as Michael LeMay, by the way, has got through on Paul Crabb, and unfortunately there was a bit of contact. This is how it happened. You can be sure straight line speed very much taken away from Paul Crabb there, and the slipstream of course for LeMay obviously helped, but it's all about taking it home at this point for the man in 9th place.
Yeah, absolutely. The gaps ahead are fairly steady. They're all, the podium positions have all got a good few seconds between each other. So this is where the battling is at the minute. It's further down the field. I'm just going to pop back down to Dave Kirkman because he's looking like he's wanting to put a move on Adcock, but it's not on Childborough. It's not happening for him at the minute. He's putting pressure on, but he's not finding a way through. He's struggling to get past.
James Child has been falling back through the field of late in the last couple of moments. Still getting 3 from his qualifying position, but I think he had a very good first couple of laps really, and ever since he's been overtaken by a couple of cars, he might even both be able to catch Paul Crabb here as Colin Wynn's getting overtaken right now by Michael LeMay down the inside, but the nice cutback from Wynn. We're giving the inside line for turn 2 as they go up the hill through the S's now, and that's going to be the position back for the number 4 car, getting back into 7th position. Michael LeMay tucks back into the slipstream and might even be able to come back at him again in this battle that seesaws around down the back straight into the bus stop. Not quite able to make the move there, but they bounce over the curves once more and make their way through. They're all getting caught here by Child and Kirkman. This could well become a 5-car train. I definitely think Paul Crabb is in trouble and might not even finish inside the top 10 here with 3.5 laps to go.
Yeah, let's just have a quick replay now of Guy Robertson. He's just lost it. I think he's just on his own again. Maybe just lost the back end here. Yeah, ran over the curbs and just lost it on the power by the looks of it. Heavy impact with the barrier and manages to just get out of the way of the other cars as they come around the corner. So yeah, late in the race to be picking up damage, but no real time to repair and recover now with just a couple of laps to go.
No, not really. It seems like we have seen quite a few incidents here today, but mostly cars or more single car incidents than normal today. The barriers are quite close compared to other weeks. Mosport doesn't forgive mistakes too much either, but you don't see too many mistakes there. Certainly not into Lagos either, where the walls are quite a long way off from where you might make a mistake. So Yeah, we're seeing quite a few hit the barriers on this occasion. Kirkman looking to try and hit the top 10 here, but not quite able to for now. James Child holding on to that top 10 as they move in to within a second of Paul Crabb, and they're going to be getting that slipstream now as well of the damaged Radical up in front. Will certainly be hurting his straight line speed here. And with 2.5 laps to go now, or just over, Paul Crabb is going to struggle to hold on to this top 10 by the looks of things. This is one of the battles up towards the front that's certainly closest. This is another one. The 4th position. The podium positions look pretty set here, but Paul LeMay, is he going to be in 4th or not? Martin Booker, is he going to even be in the top 5 by the end of this? Graham Brown, 3rd place in the championship at the moment. Another solid day for him, finishing in 6th position. Now it's really up in the air as to where any of these guys are really going to finish it, both in this group and the 5-car train a little bit further back.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still lots of positions to be had at the moment. You can see Edwards in that P2. He's gained 2 positions in the race. May in P4. He's gained 4 positions. But the biggest gainer at the moment is LeMay in 8th place. He's gained 10 positions in the race. Sorry, as I look further down, I see Wilkins with gained 13 positions. Beasley 14. So it's been some big gainers in this race, Ewan. But I think that's down to a lot of the incidents. Like you said, there's been a lot of single car accidents. We had that big one at the start that involved quite a few cars, but the majority have been single cars, and drivers have been picking up places due to other people's mistakes.
I reckon there's only still 26 cars running, which is quite a lot of cars retired from this one. A little bit more than normal, as we see down the inside for Kirkman. Hit on the penultimate lap, risking quite a lot there for a position. He won't want to spin. He has got 9 seconds back to Langford, which will help him, of course. But he won't want to spin at turn 1, there's no question about that. Martin Booker defends once more from Graham Brown, trying to hold on here and doing a fairly good job of things just for the moment. But how much longer is this going to really go on for here in the 5th position? It is letting Paul LeMay get away here, which is very, very useful for him, of course. It looks like he's run up with 4th position at this stage. Penultimate lap as we stand, and these two look like they're going to battle it out for 5th position right till the end.
Yeah, not a moment's peace, no rest to be gained around this track. It's literally, it's all hustle and bustle, and definitely Booker's doing a sterling job to try and keep Brown behind him. He's literally got another lap to go, so it's he's doing a good job, but he's the man under pressure at the moment, and this is the closest battle on the track as we speak at the minute. Mccuttinson is way up the road, well in the lead by nearly 3 seconds. In front of Edwards in P2, who's then got a mighty 7.5 seconds back to Clark in P3, so the podium, barring any mistakes, is pretty much sorted at the moment. Just go to our man Mccuttinson, who is now on his final lap.
Yeah, he is indeed. He's been in control of this race from start to finish. He's come under more pressure from Simon Edwards in some of these wins that he's had in the past, notably into Lagos, of course, where he was chased all the way to the line, and in the end only took it by about half a tenth in the end. But this one has been a much more convincing performance, a much easier drive, well, not an easier drive for him, but he's been in control and looking to take his 4th win of the season. 160 points next to his name out of a possible 280. But Simon Edwards is going to add another 35 to his account, and that will mean he's only dropped 20 points all season long. Another fantastic performance from him, extending his championship lead once again, more than 80 points in this race here. It's probably going to be around 87 now after this race. Truly astonishing performance. We'll start to factor in the drop weeks, of course, in a few weeks' time, because it's a little bit early for that. But John Mccuttinson doing his best at this point, despite the 0 that he is going to have to take in this championship. He's doing all he can to stay in touch, and this is all he can do at Watkins Glen, win the race comfortably, and that's exactly what he's done. John Mccuttinson over the line once again. He wins in the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series for the 4th time in 2022. Simon Edwards just over 3 seconds behind, with Paul Clark rounding out the podium. The battles a little bit further back did sort themselves out in the end, but Paul Crabb, I'm afraid, was notable in his absence inside the top 10. That little spin and nosing to the barrier at the bus stop chicane, it's really cost him a top 10 in this one, dropping the positions to Child and Kirkman on the very final lap. It's a disappointing day for him, but for the other championship rivals like Mccuttinson and Edwards, it's been another very solid day. I think both of the top two will be very pleased with their work.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said right at the top of the show, it's all about consistently finishing on that podium if you can. And those guys, Edwards especially, he's putting on a great performance this season, and he is the man of the moment. I've just seen a little bit of shenanigans there as once they've crossed the line. So just waiting for the final few to finish now. Like you say, it's a depleted field. It's looking like we've only got 22, 23 cars left to finish here tonight. So it's been a depleted grid, it has to be said, after all those incidents early on.
23 cars are going to be on the lead lap by the end. 26 did make it to the end, albeit a lap down or more in some cases as well, mainly down to the big crash we saw at the top of the hill a few laps in for Martina Ward. Darrell Taylor was involved in that one, Christopher Kane, all those guys had to come into the pit lane. Mike Booston as well went for a spin. Let's not forget Dan Webster likewise. Both of those got damaged and retired from the race 5 and 7 laps in respectively. Chris Bassett, after being the biggest mover forward in this race, has also retired along with Graham Brown in the 63 car after 11 laps. So here are the guys who did finish in the end, and it was John Mccuttinson, the top of the pile, and Simon Edwards and Paul Clark and Paul LeMay rounding out the top 4. There's Martin Booker and Graham Brown, who finished in 6th. Colin Wynne with a very good performance there to finish 7th. Michael LeMay and James Child 8th and 9th. Ahead of Dave Kirkman rounding out the top 10. Paul Crabb with that damage dropped outside of it. He'll be disappointed with his day, you'd imagine. Mark Langford fairly anonymous throughout the day. He finished 12th ahead of Sergio Cruz, who had to fight back from some issues in that one. Tim Adcock and Ray Peasley were the biggest movers in the end, getting past the likes of Jamie Bird and Phil Glover, who had the spin at the bus stop fairly late on. Speaking of spins, Dave Dowson also had one. He finished 18th by the very end. Paul Wickens and Connor Hope round out the top 20. Richard Brown, Guy Robertson and Christopher Rowe round out the guys who finished on the lead lap. Then David Royalson, Martina Ward and Darrell Taylor made it to the end, but Graham Brown, Chris Bassett, we also saw Dan Webster, Mike Booston, Christopher Kane, Oliver Ettridge and Phil Jocelyn all not make it to the end of this race here tonight. So another entertaining one here at Watkins Glen. The championship starting to take shape at the front of the field. Nice battles up and down the order, and a nice 5-car battle the lower portion of the top 10 as well, which was entertaining enough to watch here in this one. But yeah, what can we expect in 1 week's time at Suzuka? I feel like it's going to be a very similar race to this one. You know, a fair few one-car incidents, quite possibly twisty, turny, if that's a word, a kind of circuit. It's high downforce. The radicals are going to suit it. It's going to be enjoyable to drive, but we'll see how easy it's going to be to overtake next week. It might not be that easy.
No, absolutely not. But it's going to be interesting. These races always are. There's some great battles as we've seen again tonight. Some fantastic drivers out there. The championship's not over. We've got the drop rounds to go. Obviously, we're about halfway through the season, so we've got plenty of races still to come. But I think what we've got this evening, Ewan, is an interview from our race winner.
We have indeed on this occasion. I've got to remember to oh dear me, got to remember to actually do my job this time and unmute people, which is not what I did last week. So we can welcome John Mccuttinson into the booth now, thankfully, after a victory here at Watkins Glen. You're 4th for the season already here, John. You're having a fairly good year, or fairly good season, I should say. By this point, how was the car feeling out there at Watkins Glen, and what was that race like for you after taking that pole position in qualifying?
I was really good. I had a nice setup there tonight, just getting a little bit hot towards the end of it, so having to shift the brake balance forward a little bit, but the car felt good.
It certainly looked good out front at the field. I just want to ask about the rest of the season, really, because in every race you participated in, you've won so far. So what is the rest of the season actually looking like for you here? Because when you're here, you've been very good so far. So what's the plan?
Yeah, well, Simon put in a sneaky one last week when we were practicing for the Daytona 24, and he done Mosport, so that was a sneaky one. But I think that'll be me for the rest of the season. I think this will be my last race. Hopefully not, but my shoulder's getting better, so I can get back to what I do in real life.
Hopefully this is not the last we see of you, but you never know, I suppose. Either way, you've been very well dominant tonight, I suspect. Fourth win of the season. We'll congratulate you on that and let you go and enjoy the victory. But for now, thanks for coming to join us, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks very much to John Mccuttinson there, who's victorious here in this race. And we got the man runner-up to him in here as well for an interview too. Simon Edwards still leading the championship, still second place here in this one. It's either been first or second for you this season here, Simon. How was that race for you? Paul Crabb was kind of in and around you guys for a little while until he had, of course, his problems in that race, and then you were pretty much uncontested to second place. But how did it feel from the driver's seat for you?
Well, I was a bit disappointed in qualifying, as you can imagine. So coming back to second is a good result, but I couldn't quite get to John's pace. I kept making all these little mini mistakes and frightening myself. So in the end, with about 3 laps to go, I thought I better not keep trying. So but it was fun. I love this track. It's a little bit arcadey at the moment with there's so much grip on the track. It's so flat. So I do like the older track a little bit better, but it was fun to race still. I enjoyed it.
And speaking of flowing circuits, we've got Suzuka coming up next time, although more elevation this time around. How does that affect these radicals? You said it's a very, very flat, obviously newly resurfaced. This track, of course, makes it very fast. But what's Suzuka like with its rises and falls and so on?
Yeah, there's not too much weight in this car, so it's not drastically affected by any going up hills. Suzuka in this car is pretty fun actually. Or the last time we ran it, again we run it because of the long straights towards the end and across the start-finish line. Everybody will be tempted to run low downforce again, so that gets a bit interesting in through the first sector and in through the Degnas. So you might have some exciting commentary next week.
Yeah, well, we look forward to that certainly. Of course, coming up next week. But for now, we'll let you go and enjoy second place. Another one, fourth for the season, and going well for you so far. So thanks very much, Simon, for joining us, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
There we are, Simon Edwards as well, from second place in the race here this evening. That's been it then for our broadcast here at Watkins Glen. Make sure you join us in 1 week's time for Suzuka, where we'll be going racing in round 8 of the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series here for 2022 in Season 1.